Welcome everybody to another podcast with Gulf Coast Poker. I'm Gene D. I'm here with my business partner, Wild Bill Phillips, and also with poker writer and GCP operative Ben Saxton. Our special guest for this episode is going to be the Beau Rivage poker room manager, Adam Nash. Before we get started, we're going to go ahead and let Bill plug our upcoming events. Bill?
Yeah, so our next event is April 4th through the 14th at Kashada. I believe we got 300,000 in guarantees there. I think 150 on the main and 100K on the opener. Adam Nash, who Gene mentioned, is the guest on this part of the roundtable, and we got another guest for the podcast interview itself. And just want to touch base with Adam. We've got some good news. He was the guest on episode 16, and Adam's health wise, he's got a good report. He is cancer free.
Yep.
And also, we had him here to discuss some of the cool things that Beau Rivage is doing with us in regards to the Gulf Coast Poker Championship. So Walker Miss Kelly just won this. We're at Pearl River right now. And as part of the package, he won a seat to the Beau Rivage main event. And so did the next four players. Adam, can you tell us a little bit about this, what the players are going to get and when it's going to happen and whatever?
Yeah. So we'll have our main event next year, January. It'll be the same buy-in that we've done the past 2 years. It seems to be a very good price point for the players, and they like it very much with 1,200. So we added 5 seats to the championship, really just as a kind of investment and give back. We love the things Gulf Coast Poker does when they come to us, and of course our players that come with them. So giving them more reasons to come back is something we're always going to look to do. It's really just our way of kind of saying thank you and hoping to build it more and show more reasons why people should come back to us.
And we really appreciate it. I know the players love it. I think they were all excited when there was a bubble from sixth place to fifth place, and the top five all got seats. So that's really cool, and thank you for that. Ben, you want to talk about some of the or give us the next topic for the roundtable?
Sure. I just wanted to follow up with you, Adam, first, because we had talked about the heater in previous episodes, but yeah, from your perspective, how did that all go? I know there were some very lofty goals and guarantees, and I'd just love to hear your thoughts on the whole affair.
Yeah, so I think it's become more and more clear that my goal for tournaments is never to stay still. I don't ever want to just keep finding, I have 500,000 in guarantees, and that's what we do for the next, 5 years. It doesn't, I think a lot of times operators kind of miss the opportunity, for a lack of better words, to kind of gamble on it. Of if you're getting people to come out and you're getting these big numbers in your fields, why not try to make it more? Because when you're trying to make it more, yeah, it of course benefits us as a business of getting more players there. In theory, you're going to make more money, but also from the player's perspective, you're hitting these massive numbers in your fields. I think leaving the guarantee at a smaller amount just makes it actually more detrimental to the future, because they're looking, well, if you did $250,000 last year, and you did $250,000 in the last 5 years, and you do it every 5 years. If you look at those tournaments, the amount of people that come out from the beginning boom of that first $250,000, you're going to get probably the biggest field you're going to get for it. But then after that, when you stay with it, that field starts kind of lowering out, and that's when, in my mind, you start entering that area of, are we going to make the guarantee? Are we going to get there? Because we're not giving you any more incentive. And especially now with the amount of tournaments everywhere, I think that you have to, as a property, as a business, as an operator, look at, what can I do to get people here? And part of that to me is sometimes taking the risk of, jacking the prize pull up. We went from, what was it, 1.6 or 1.7 in guarantees to a little over 3 million this year. So it was a hard sell in the back of the house, but we had the data and we had everything to support it. Some of them were a little light. So the event itself was a great success. There was a lot of things, some struggles with our room relocating at the same time, or a couple weeks just before then. So there was a lot of the small, it's space, it's this, it's that, but we're still settling into our room. We've only been there now a few months, but for the heater to come a few weeks after that, the way that it operated and the minimal amount of issues that really came up, it was phenomenal. I'd love to be the guy that takes all the credit for it, but I can't because it's not. It's the operators. It's my staff in the poker room. It's Paul Dutch and his crew. It's you guys being there for cover. It's a perfect combination where I get to just step back and look like a genius while everybody else does all the work. So I mean, we're very happy with it. We have some adjustments for 2025. I've got some goals for what I want to do for the tournament. It's just a matter of seeing kind of the dates. I know will be a little adjusted because we always go that following weekend after New Year's. So I don't know what's to come with it yet, but I have no plans to step back in anything that's going to always be forward motion with us.
Great to hear. Yeah, it's great to hear, and we'll look forward to the updates as they come out. And it's still early-ish yet, but
I'm still on break after the last one, so I haven't come up with a
yeah. Speaking of, just want to say it's always great to record in person with y'all. We are wrapping up the first weekend. We're in the Golden Moon Casino in Philadelphia. And so Adam, you got lost on the golf course. Last fall, I got lost when going for a nice little jog. So we're here, we're safe. And how's the first weekend been going, y'all?
Great. Numbers are up based on October. We're really happy with that. The GCP Tour Championship, we had an awesome trophy. It was a loaded final two tables to be expected, and that was a lot of fun. And then the big event too, the 350K guarantee. We flew past the guarantee, and we're happy with that. And I know based on bookings, we got a whole another wave of people coming in tonight, so it should be a really good end of the week.
Good stuff. There's one kind of current event that we thought might be worth talking about. This weekend, there was also a high stakes cash game on the Lodge's stream. And there was a lengthy tank from poker hero / villain Nick Airball, 20-minute tank on stream. So we'll link to the actual hand in the show notes, but the long and short of it was a three-way pot on the river. The final board was 5-7 king 6 3. Nick Airball had deuce 4, so he had a lower straight. A second player, whose name is Stash, had 4-3, so they both had the same straight. And then a super fun player named Tesla had 8-9 for the nuts. And so the action went check to Tesla on the river. He fires out 125,000. Stash calls with the lower straight, and the action is now on Nick Airball. And Nick tanks and tanks and tanks and tanks some more. And 20 minutes goes by, and he eventually, does he fold or call?
He lets the clock run out, doesn't he?
So he ends up folding. Yeah. So this raises there's a number of interesting issues at play here. Just how out of line is this for Nick to tank for 20 minutes? Is it out of line for people not to call the clock? To what extent does the live stream nature of the hand affect things? And also kind of kudos to the Lodge for throwing seems like a very successful stream. So really, really interesting spot. What are y'all's thoughts?
Well, my first thought is I'll give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit in terms of tanking. I mean, on the face of it, he's got the bottom straight. There's two people all in front of him, and that's seems like a lot of times would be an easy decision. Although he must have somehow got to the river and hit the gut shot to actually make his hand. So I know sometimes when I'm in a hand and I end up making the hand, it's maybe a little harder to have that funeral for the hand before you muck it. I don't know about a 20-minute funeral in this case. So, I mean, definitely I give him the benefit of the doubt in terms of tanking, but that just seems too long. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's way too long. If it's to me, in my mind, the thing that people always go back to when it comes to a clock or how much time should be allotted, people will always say like, well, it was a big bet. It was a big bet. It was a big, this was a legit call. This was this. And at the core of it, I still think the same thing of regardless of how big or small a bet can be. I feel like the majority of poker players, at least skilled players or whatever you want to call it, you've got a good indication of what action you're going to do almost immediately. So when you want to take your time and think it out, we all do stupid things where you're, oh, I'm immediately calling, and then you catch yourself going like, ah, crap, I should have thought, I shouldn't have done that. I understand a little bit of time, but 20 minutes in my mind, no. I mean, I guess I would be the bad guy at the table because I'm going to give you 5 minutes or something like that at my mind. Even I'm going, okay, we're getting there now because I have the thing that I do when I play where I know that I should fold, but I'm trying to convince myself, like, no, you shouldn't. I have found the easiest way to do it is I verbally will just say fold. And I don't want to let go of my hand. I still want to hold on to it, but I already know verbal's binding. I already know what I'm doing here. Okay, cool. And it's stupid, but it has gotten me out of countless amounts of times where I would probably tank for a while because I'm trying to talk myself into, like we briefly discussed the matter of, okay, well, in this scenario, it's 3 people. Could I win it all is question 1. Could I chop it is question 2. Question 3 is will I chop it with someone else? And then we're going to chop a third bet. And by the end of it, 20 minutes period in my mind, I would be going like, yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm going to call a clock here. But also in a lot of games, you have the ability to look over. And I haven't seen exactly how the hand went, but you'll see guys look over and go, hey, in a minute, like I'm just giving you a heads up, like it's been a while. I'm gonna like just as a minute. So to me, in my mind, if we're following, the different etiquette or whatever per game, and is it who it is and everything like that, regardless, still 20 minutes to me, I'd be going nuts at that point. Just sitting there, I'd have to walk away, or I'd be the guy that will call the clock. It'd be one of those.
Well, that's part of the tricky thing here, right? Is that it's on the players usually. The vast majority of the time, it's going to be somebody at the table calls the clock, and you'll also see the player themselves out of frustration be like, I'm calling the clock on myself. I didn't watch the full 20 minutes. So I don't know at what point people were like, hey, make a decision, but no one called the clock. And so I'm wondering like if the players don't call the clock, does the responsibility then fall to like the poker room manager or the commentators, or who should call the clock then if no one at the table is calling?
I think with the complication of it being, well, not complication, but I guess added circumstance of it being a stream and with there being a delay where the hand is going to be public knowledge, like we were talking about earlier, that 100% at that point, I think you have to step in as an operator to say we're now risking the security of the game, because if we know the stream's on delay, I'm not going down the wormhole of how you could or couldn't cheat on streaming or this, none of that. But as the operator, you don't even have to worry about that because you're just going, hey, the preventative measure we put in was that this is a 20-minute delay. Because in theory, there's no way it should take 20 minutes for someone to play a hand to where they'd be able to actually see the hand they're still playing 20 minutes later. I think you have to, as an operator at that point, say, you got to make a decision. This becomes a game integrity, game security issue, whatever you want to call it, to come in and say, yes, otherwise, no, you should never be calling the clock. You should never, it's something that staff, whether you're a dealer, whether you're anyone else that works in the room, you have no right to say anything on that hand at that point.
So have you ever seen a situation where like the floor has come over and be like, all right, you've taken too long. That has happened.
We've gotten to, so there have been points where, man, I wish I remembered how many years ago it was, but it was like back in WSOP days when it was first booming on TV and everything else. It was a few years into that where there was one person that was playing that was just notorious. And it was the first time, I think, on ESPN where people had saw kind of the real operations of a tournament, where this person at first, it was, you got 60 seconds. And it was like the next time the floor came, they're like, you got 30 seconds stacked on your hand now. And everybody was just mind blown. It's like, whoa, the clock's supposed to be 60 seconds. It's like, no, read on. You keep reading the rules where it says, yes, you'll have this long, but it also will have a little caveat on it that as the operator or tournament director, you have the ability to vary from this. Well, if I see someone that's constantly just taking forever, I have one of my best friends, he's passed since, but I love him to death. He went and played the WSOP, and he told me he took 30 seconds before he acted every time. And then after the flop, he waited exactly 1 minute before he would do it, no matter what, whether it was call, fold, bet, raise. And I was like, I would kick you off of my table. Like, I would go broke on purpose to not have to play with you. But as an operator, sometimes you have to step in to do it only because of game security. Any other time, no, you shouldn't be saying anything. I've dealt with dealers that have called clock on a player. I've dealt with floor that have called on a player. But as a floor, the only time you should be is when you have a whole table. Like this scenario I'm talking about, there was 9 other people at the table that all were in agreement. You're taking too long. They've all, like, you're watching it on TV because they were, some people were calling berating, but it wasn't. They were trying to talk to the person to say, the blinds are going up. You're impacting all of us. We understand this is your strategy, but this is not fair. That table's getting 20 hands in this half hour. We're getting 9 because of how long. So then you could step in as an operator, but otherwise, no, you shouldn't have to get in. It's not your place, you know.
So it is interesting because Polk did step in at when it was getting close to it. And I think he put him on a countdown, and that's the way Nick Airball ended up folding the hand. Is he just didn't act in those 20 minutes because he was worried about the, like you said, the security of the hand. At some point it eclipses it. But
explain the stream portion of it.
yeah, so I guess it was streamed at the lodge, and I think they had maybe a 30-minute delay, and it was getting close to it while he was taking. So I guess Polk was maybe in the booth. He came over and made the announcements like, you're about to get up on the stream, so we're gonna have to hold you out. You're gonna have to act. But I find it interesting because, Gene and I, we record a lot of hands and we don't post them live, but we post them right after they happen. And they're kind of vignettes. And sometimes when you're covering an action the way we do it, you get these long tanks, and then the result may not be very, favorable to a viewer in the nature of us covering it. It's just kind of one of those hands out of 100, but we're putting it up there. But I find a lot of times we'll get negative feedback on our posts because people are so disappointed that something ultimately didn't happen, if a guy makes a big fold. But we can't really control what's going to happen at the end of the hand. I find that it was always, I guess it shows up in their Facebook feed. Maybe it's like a reel or something and it upsets people. I'd get upset if there's this thing there and there's no resolution. I don't know if you guys see those videos on like TikTok or Reels where it seems like the point of the video is to get you to last as long as possible, watch it as long as possible. There's no resolution. Sometimes the hands feel that way, but another aspect is as a guy doing a stream, should he be in there within like 5 minutes and be like, I got entertainment. This is the point of the stream is partially entertainment, even though you're playing for 125,000. Is that something he should think about? You think that's fair for him to do, or you think he should just let it play out because they're playing for so much money?
Personally, I think they should have little time bank chips that they use in some of the bigger tournaments.
Yeah.
So, you get 2 chips for 10 minutes, and if you got to go in the tank, you got to use a chip. And if you don't have any chips, then you got to make a decision in a reasonable time, which I think 20 minutes is way too long too. It seemed to me it was a value bet. The pot was pretty big. I could argue either way for him to call or fold, but I sure as hell can't argue that he should have took 20 minutes. I mean, that's a 5-10 minute call, but like I said, the way I read the hand, I could argue either way. Like, shit, it was only 125 into that pot. Why not just call? Because you hit your hand, like y'all said. If you hit your hand on the river, then you're gonna go ahead and fold, which was the right thing. But with the call in front of him, he thought it through and probably figured out that the guy might have had the nuts and folds.
Yeah. I think the entertainment aspect is kind of what you're referring to. The player of like nobody wants to watch a boring stream.
Yeah.
Nobody wants this. You don't want to watch the 3-6 game play downstairs. Like no disrespect to them, but it's not fun to watch. You want action. It's kind of, lack of better terms, it's like people want to see it. They want to see bloodshed. They don't want to see a chop. They don't want to see on the end. He called $500,000. He bet $500,000. Oh, they have the same it. Well, that's boring.
Right.
So you start blurring that line when you're doing streams of, do we build up what's the best game, or do we build up what's the most entertaining? right? It's the same reason as these streams that are popular with people that don't play poker at all, that are YouTubers and things like that. People want to watch it. Well, why do they watch it? They're not watching poker content at that time. They just want to see what the heck, like, what are they doing? I've watched very few of them, but the ones that I've seen where I'm going, how much money do they have that they're playing right now for? And like this, they're holding both cards up to their face to see what the cards are. I don't think they play very often. So you run into that with the streams a lot, where you want it there. It's kind of some of the comparable to like WSOP with when you see guys like Phil Hellmuth act like that or things like that, where someone's doing things where me as an operator, whether from the time I was a dealer to the position I'm in now, where I'm going, can't behave like that. You can't act like that at a table. It's disrespectful to everyone else, whether it's things you're saying or taking too much time. Because when you're taking so much time, it's different in cash versus tournament. Cash is always going to be different because you're not on a clock, right? The blinds aren't going up, things like that. But both variations of stream, I think you have to find that kind of line of what is entertainment, what's fun that people are going to watch it, but then good content, because otherwise you just have random poker people playing showdown every time. Like, well, we can just run a feed on that, just turn the cards face up, face up every time, and we'll do bomb extreme pots or whatever they want to call it, where you just put your whole stacks in. But I think people want the entertainment. But when you get to 20 minutes, if I'm watching a live stream and he's tanked this long, I'm probably changing the channel at some point. I'm just going to check back in and be like, okay, yeah, you got this, whatever it was.
Yeah, we are well beyond the saturation point of what I would call pokertainment, vlogs, podcasts, guilty as charged, I suppose. And live streams. And so yeah, now the question becomes, how do you separate yourself from the pack? How do you do things that draw those eyes and do things in a better way, more efficient way, more entertaining way than everyone else?
Seems to be the key in those for a lot of
absolutely
things.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I would say one last point about this is the Lodge really had a successful action game overall. They had some huge pots, seemed like a good lineup. So I think the 20-minute tank was certainly it was a rough patch, but seemed like a good weekend for them. And the stream will go on, I'm sure. Anything else before we introduce our guests?
None specifically, but once again, congratulations to Adam for beating cancer. We're all thrilled to hear that news, and that was probably the best news that we've heard in a long time.
Thank you. I really wish people would have factored that in while I was playing here, and maybe folded a hand too, but it's okay. Like, it's fine. I got a long life, so it's okay. I'll win.
No, you're a survivor now.
Yeah.
So you might have gotten the folds.
I don't get the pity folds in there. Yeah. Before I was able to kind of point it out, like, hey guys, I'm on immunotherapy, I bet. And they just fold. But now, yeah, apparently the rumor got out there. Like, we heard you're healthy. I called and I'm like, damn it.
You should go get some data and come back to us. Just wear a shirt that says I beat cancer and see how your results are when you're wearing the shirt versus when you're not wearing the shirt.
See how people what they do every single time.
Yeah.
If I bet, I'll just start coughing when I want them to fold. Like, oh, I'm just so tired.
Yeah, 2 shirts. I have cancer. I beat cancer. Yeah. Which one makes a better return?
Wear one on day. Well, I'd have to qualify for day 2 to do that. So we'll just say entry. I'll enter one tournament wearing one shirt and one tournament wearing another, and get back. We'll track the folds and comments that people will make. But no, I'm very happy. I appreciate the congrats. So we'll keep moving forward, and I'll keep playing as bad as I can, I guess, no matter what. Figure it out.
Well, thanks for joining us, Adam. I'll go ahead and introduce our guest for this episode. Our guest for this episode is Treva Moulton. Treva at the moment is enjoying retired life in Biloxi as a grandma. We talked about her life in poker as an operator, as a manager, and as queen of the poker room at the Grand in Biloxi. And one reason we wanted to speak with Treva was because I've spoken to a lot of cardroom regulars on the Gulf Coast who have said that for their money, there was never a better cardroom than the Grand in like the mid 90s to before Katrina. So many of them have spoken about the community that was forged there. And Treva has been instrumental in being a part of that community when it existed. She also was a manager at the Beau Rivage, and she has been organizing meetups at sort of grand casino meetups for folks who had been part of that community. So we spoke about all of that and more. It was really a pleasure to speak with her. So without further ado, here's our interview with Treva Moulton. Treva Moulton, welcome to the Gulf Coast Poker Podcast. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
So yeah, we'd love to start with just your background in poker, how you got started, and I we were just talking about how are you from Ocean Springs originally, or you've been living in Ocean Springs?
No, I moved here 32 years ago. I lived in a little small town, Liberty, Mississippi. That's where I grew up, and me and my first husband used to come on vacation to the Gulf Coast. And just one day I said, we're going to buy us a house. We're going to live here. That was 32 years ago. But wonderful. I have a new husband. I have a new husband now, though.
Okay, a new husband and a new house. It sounds like.
Right.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, and we'll get there in a little bit. But take us back to Liberty, Mississippi, and what life was like there, and also how you got into poker.
Well, my life in Liberty, Mississippi was I come from a large family, 13 that I can remember. My mother was a mother of 21, but I don't remember but 13 of us. And it's 9 of us left.
Oh, wow. That is incredible. Where are you in that order of
like number 8.
Oh my goodness.
8 or 9. Hey, and we were like Dolly Parton. We lived in a 3-room house. How about that? And we survived. We all did good in life. Nothing that I regretted, growing up.
Mm-hmm. Greatest generation.
Right.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about kind of life with your siblings, with your parents. Did y'all play a lot of games, or how'd you spend your time?
We usually just stayed put. My father, he died at 59 years old. So he left my mother with a lot of children to take care of. We might have got to go to the store once a year. Not too much.
Yeah. And so what did your parents do for work, and what did life look like in your household?
My mother was a mother.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure she was with all those kids.
No time to work for sure.
My father, he was injured in the Army, and he was discharged, and they called him a shade tree mechanic back in the day.
What is a shade tree mechanic?
It's where you work at home under the trees and make as much as you can.
Yeah. They would bring their cars over, and he'd have the trees that there's a chain that you loop over the big branches with a pulley to pull the motors out. Yeah. So that's why it was called shade tree. And then back then there were no computers. So I remember kind of showing my age here, but car engines used to go together like Lego blocks back in the day. You just needed fire, fuel, and compression, and they would run.
Right. We never received government. He never asked for any more money from the government. He would not allow it. We raised our own food. That's just the way it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Chickens, garden, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. So we all did good though.
Mm-hmm. So when did poker first come on your radar? I mean, you're somebody who's been a champion of sort of the Gulf Coast poker community. Did you start playing when you were young, living with all your siblings, or did that come later?
No, I've only played poker one time in my life. I started off in 1992 at the Biloxi Bay Casino, the first riverboat.
Yep, that's the
Right. And they said, "Would you like to work in poker?" I had no clue. I was so scared. I was like, "Yes, I need the job." I was making $4 an hour at a sewing factory. I worked in sewing factories for like 15, 16 years.
Okay, so
And
that was how you kind of got started. I was wondering how you even would have made your way into the casino environment. So you started in the sewing factory,
in
and
19, in
that was that kind of out
1970,
of necessity.
right, 1972, I started working in a sewing factory in my hometown, Liberty, Mississippi, was no jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they didn't have dollar stores and all that stuff back in the day. They didn't even have red lights where I lived. So that's how I got started. And then when I moved to the Gulf Coast, I had to work in a sewing factory for a couple of years. And then I heard there were going to be some casinos opening up. I was scared at first, you
Mm-hmm.
know, to do something different, but they gave me a job at the Biloxi, the Bell, the riverboat, and I took it.
In what
And
in what area? Was it in poker or was it in one of the other games?
it was they gave me a job in housekeeping, and they told me that I had to stay there 3 months to get promoted to another job, and I did.
Okay.
I went to poker. In
Okay.
3 months, I was in poker.
So you went from $4 an hour in the sewing factory, and then was there a pay bump in the housekeeping, or was it a better job relatively?
No, it was probably the same pay, in the housekeeping, but that was the only thing that was open because I went the day before they opened up, and I took whatever they had.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I went to poker, and that's when I started making a lot more money, in poker because
Sure.
they said I was very pleasant. I had a good sense of humor, and that's why they hired me.
Were
so
you
you
a,
would
were you a dealer, or what was your role?
Oh, in the poker room, they
Yes.
called us the brush back in the time, back in the day.
So yeah, talk
And
us through what were your responsibilities as the brush?
uh, at the Biloxi Bell, I was the cashier, the chip runner, and I seated everybody that came in. That's what my job was at the Biloxi Bell. And then I stayed there 2 years. And then they never gave me another raise or they just wouldn't ante the money up. So I heard that the Grand Casino in Biloxi was hiring in the poker room. And I went there and applied. And within one day, they gave me the job.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I started running 21 tables.
wow.
Oh my
Yeah.
I
goodness.
started running 21 tables and I stayed there until Katrina come in. I was there about 10 hours before Katrina come in packing us up.
So
Wow.
I'd love to just like linger on the Grand for a little bit, if you could help us set the scene here, and Gene, maybe you can do the same because we were just talking about how you'd played there. What did the card room look like? What was like how well run did you feel like it was? What was your experience at the Grands? And what was the card room like physically? Like what did it look like? What were the sort of characters who came in?
Um, we had all kind of characters come in. Okay, I learned every one of them. To this day, I could tell you it's been 25 years since Katrina come in. I can tell you where every table's sitting. Most of the people that were sitting at the table when Katrina was coming in, and I can tell you we had a jackpot, 50,000 capped off, 50,000 and 50,000 on table 8. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's how I had a photograph. I still have a photographic memory. I never forgot. If I asked your name one time, I never had to ask you again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the Grand Casino loved me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So along those lines, and I was talking to your friend Michael Groch, and he asked me to ask you about a couple of the characters, specifically a gal named Diamond Lil.
Diamond Lil,
Talk to us
yes.
about Diamond Lil.
Diamond Lil. She was the queen of poker, okay? She played 525 stud, she played 2040 stud, and she always wanted to be special. And I made her special, like I made everybody else. But she didn't know that I was making her just as special as everybody else. That's
How
the
did you
way
make her? How did you make her special? What do you mean by that?
she would come in and she'd say, I do have a seat, don't I? Well, of course you got a seat. We might have to start another game for Diamond Lil, but she had a seat. You hear me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. Well, that kind of runs into a question. I remember, and again, it's a long time ago for me too, but there wasn't really a whole lot of no limit at that point, right? I mean, Moneymaker had happened, and then a year or two later is when Katrina hit, and then so after they rebuilt is when I think the no limit era landed in Biloxi in the Gulf Coast.
Right. Our manager at the time, Tony Collins, he's the one who made the grand like it was.
Right.
He explained to us, we want to be the best, be personal, treat everybody like family. And he did not want the no limit in the poker room because he said it was going to break a lot of people, money wise.
Yeah.
We had a lot of local people that came every day, 7 days a week. I mean, they were there every day.
Yeah.
And he did not want the 1, 2, no, none of the no limits. I mean, right. We had a time with it when we first started because they wanted, he put a limit on how much you could buy in for, $100.
Yeah.
And they didn't. Yeah, they didn't like that.
It was a lot of stud. But do you remember any other mixed games that you guys would play? Was any Omaha, high low, or anything like that?
We had okay, I can name some stuff right now. 1 to 5 stud, 2 to 10 stud, 525 stud, 2040 stud. That's what we carried in stud. Omaha, we played the 4-8 Omaha high low. We played 10-20 Omaha high low, 15-30 Omaha high low. We played 10-20 Hold'em, 1-4-8-8 Hold'em. Then sometimes they'd spread to 6-12, but then we'd have 10-20, 15-30, and 20-40 in Hold'em.
Right.
And then we'd had the pot limit Omaha.
Yeah.
That was very popular back in the day too.
Yeah, that was the big game. There was no limit hold'em, Ben.
No.
PLO is the big game. And then I can tell you, I used to play that 6-12 game a lot. They had a 6-12 game would run on the coast at the Grand and at Harrah's. And I can tell you, after Katrina, it never jumped off again.
No,
I never seen 6-12 again after Katrina.
After Katrina, we couldn't get a 10-20 Hold'em game.
Yeah.
I mean, it was sad. I mean, we couldn't. We never got a stud game, but maybe 2 times at the Beau Rivage because I worked there too.
I know. I remember you had the Beau for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So one thing poker players love to talk about and love to complain about, I think, are the comps and how much the card rooms take care of the players or fail to take care of the players. And another thing that the Grand was known for, I think, was just taking care of the players and forging this really strong bond sometimes between the players and the staff. And so, like, what were some examples of that? Like, how did y'all, try to make them feel special, as you mentioned, or tried to take care of the players back then?
We just made sure they were happy. Made sure they ate good. I mean, we had food in the poker room for them, hot dogs, sometimes fish, and if they ate that all day, they still, if they wanted to come, we gave it to them. It's only food.
See, I think that right there separates you from almost any current card room in the country.
Right.
Right.
Another thing I would love to hear you talk about is the long bar. What was the long bar? What was that like? That was connected to the Grand, the country western bar where folks
Right. It was a country western bar. Yes. Um, we could go there sometimes, because some of the players went and they, invite us down to drink and just hang out and stuff. I mean, the Grand didn't like us doing that, because I mean, you drink one too many drinks, you can get fired. Okay.
Uh,
Mhm.
exactly. Yeah.
Did anybody ever get in that condition that
Oh
they
yeah,
more
me,
than a couple?
me.
The
I said, I'm fired. And the CEO of Duncan McKenzie was the CEO at the time. And he gave me Employee of the Year for the whole Grand that year. I thought, oh my God, I thought I was going to get fired.
there was rumors and stories on the Gulf Coast that anytime the casinos needed to lay people off, they would throw a party with all the employees and their top guests and wait for people to get drunk to check them off the list. Okay,
That's
they're
right.
going. Yeah.
They never did bother me, though. I got to go to all the concerts. I got to meet a lot of the country music stars. And the CEO, he would see me sneaking in and sneaking out. And he'd say, "You have a good time?" I said, "Yes, sir, I did." And he never said nothing because I was a employee that never missed work. I was come an hour before time schedule. If they needed anything, I would stay over 2 shifts. And that's what they liked about me because I'm very personal with people. If you wasn't family to me when you come in that poker room, you was when you left. That's how. Yeah, and that's why they call me Queen of Poker. Okay.
Mhm. So you were at the Grand from would it be a little bit after it had opened, maybe like the mid 90s to
They opened up in January of '94, and I was still working at the Biloxi Bell, and then I quit probably about August. I think I went to work in August of 1994. It
Mhm.
wasn't too many months later
Okay,
there.
so you were there until, of course, Katrina. So
Right.
yeah, maybe talk to us a little bit about those last days and your experience, and then how you kind of adjusted after that, because that was obviously such a catastrophic event. And how do you remember that, and how did you move forward from there?
Okay. I remember the day that we were told that we had to shut down the poker room, that Katrina was coming in like 170 miles an hour wind. And I'm like, oh my God, here goes my job. I love my job. I love the people. I still ain't got over it. It
Hmm.
was then afterwards, the grand took care of us. Money wise. Offered us jobs, to go to Tunica or wherever we wanted to go. But I chose not to because I have a child and grandchildren here. And I went to the Imperial Palace and worked for a year. And then I went to the Beau Rivage.
Hmm.
And that's when I retired. The Beau Rivage, the other two casinos did not. I never felt comfortable. I felt like I couldn't do my job because I was too friendly, and they would not let us be that friendly with the players.
Hmm. So maybe that was a difference, it sounds like, between the Grand and the Bow and the IP, is like that closeness that you forged with the players at the Grand just wasn't happening
It,
at these
it
other places.
wasn't no, no, it wasn't. It wasn't there.
Hmm.
I gave them my 100%,
Hmm.
at both casinos, but it wasn't there. They just didn't allow you to do that.
Hmm. And you were at the Bow for how long?
From 2005 to 2011, and I
Okay.
retired.
Okay. So yeah, when did you get the idea and when did you start doing the reunions? Because I think that's such a lovely addition to the Gulf Coast poker scene, something you've been kind of overseeing. And yeah, when did that start?
When Facebook, because we all kind of separated after the hurricane. A lot of people had to move off to get jobs and stuff. And when Facebook came on, I just started looking them all up because we at the Grand, we had Christmas parties. I made sure that we all got together, um, to be the family that we were, and we were going to stay that way.
Mhm.
And
So
uh,
did you organize them around the holidays or when, how many reunions
yes,
have there been?
I think this is our fourth one. Um, we've had probably 35 to 40 of our poker employees have passed away. And I try every year to I just started last year. We had one. This is our fourth one.
Hmm.
But to get them all together, we have to. We just have to. I don't know how to put it. Organize.
Hmm.
Everybody can't come, but I try to have it where most of the people are off on Sunday, and that way they can have a chance to come and the time frames for that day. We do it on one day. That's
Hmm.
it.
Where do y'all meet at?
We usually just pick a place. The last place was in Ocean Springs. This year, April the 28th, it's going to be at the French Club in Biloxi. We're renting it for just the grand reunion.
Yeah, so that's a really it's a really special event, it sounds like. And how many folks would you say are, coming to the reunions, and how many folks from those old days are you still connected to?
I would say I'm connected to everybody that worked in my poker room. Okay.
Would that be like 50 people, 100 people?
I would say 100.
Okay.
Just in our poker room. My players, they all my friends on Facebook, and if I say you best come, they will be there. We had a lot of players come to all of our reunions. So I'm just they okay. They mind me. Okay, when I say
Mhm.
you better be there, I
So
think that's why I think that's why I did good in the poker room. Because I didn't. I'm gonna say I didn't take crap off of nobody, and I didn't.
Mhm.
And they let me do my job the way I wanted to do my job. And it turned out just wonderful. I mean, I just love my players. I just love poker. I just don't know how to describe it.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm going to be 69 years old this year, and it, I would still be working if the Grand Casino was still there.
Yeah, Ben, if you get a chance, I sent you some pics. If you want to pull them up and reminisce a little bit, you can see exactly how bad the grain got hit.
Yeah, so I'll yes. So I mean the way that it was described to me and my understanding, maybe y'all can add to this, is that the casino was literally like the hurricane literally like uprooted the casino and moved it across onto from the to the beach side from across
Yeah,
the city. Is that right?
Highway
Yes.
9, yes.
Uh,
And some of the security people that were friends of mine, they said that the poker room looked just like it was set. Nothing got hurt. It was just moved across the highway.
Wow.
we heard some. God, now I'm starting to remember stuff. We heard like that there was a rumor that some people got away with a bunch of chips. Maybe right after the storm. Was there any truth to any of that? Did y'all hear any thing like that, Trevor, as far as
I
employees?
Not
Like,
employees, but I mean, I heard a lot. I heard a couple things about. The Hard Rock was supposed to open up that when the Katrina was coming in, and somebody took all the money, all the cash money. Somebody stole all that.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
And the Beau was the only one standing, right? The Hard
Right,
Rock was almost finished, but
right,
the Beau was the only one, and they had just built it. If I remember right.
right. And the IP, it was okay because we opened up probably 3 or 4 months later at the IP. We had
Right.
poker going, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It was a lot of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm. And in
Yeah.
your experience, I mean, how has Biloxi changed and Ocean Springs? I mean, because you've been living on the Gulf Coast for so long. I mean, how is that? How's your experience in the cities changed as you've been living there?
Ocean Springs. When I moved here, like I say, 32 years ago, it was just a small town. Not too much of nothing. Now it's like New Orleans. They have lots of, places downtown, bars and eatery places. Changed a lot. um, Biloxi,
Yeah.
poker's not too good in Biloxi right now.
Do
Yeah.
you, do you go in? Do you go into the casinos and
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
okay.
when
Uh,
I walk when I walk into the casinos now in the poker like Boomtown, IP, if I see two games going, I say, you know what, something's wrong here. I walked into 8 tables a day. That's early in the mornings. You're not doing your job right if you don't get people in here. You
mhm.
got to promote. You got to be friendly. You just got to let them know you love them, and they'll be back.
Right. Exactly. Well, another question. Of course, the CEO or the owner didn't want the no limit at that time, but you had a slew of limit games. What was it like in the industry after the moneymaker effect when no limit started taking over in the Gulf Coast? Because it that's where it really took off, if I remember right. It started there and then kind of moved to Harris probably about a year and a half later.
Right. The no limit, it didn't go too good around here. To me, that's my knowledge of it, because it was so many older people that they played for a living, okay? And they didn't
Right,
want to jump in them no limit games and, one hand their money's gone.
right,
They just didn't want to participate in it as much.
right,
I would say the last 6 to 10 years, the younger people started coming, trying to make some fast money in the no limit games and stuff. And that's kept it going right now.
right. Another question is I've always loved poker and grew up as a kid with my cousins around my grandparents' table, and everybody started with stud. I think Stud's a great game. Why do you think none of the casinos in the Gulf Coast area could keep a stud game going? Every now and then you'll get one to jump off at here and there in a different casino, but it seems like with enough players in the area, they should be able to keep a game going. But anyways, what are your thoughts about that?
They don't promote it.
That's probably it, right? They just don't hustle the players.
They don't.
They don't
I tr- I tried at the Beau Rivage, and they didn't want it. They really didn't want it. They wanted the no limit. 10, 20 hold'em. I tried to get going. Just different types of games to give the players a choice. What they could play. You come in and you play, limit hold'em, and they don't have it. You
Yeah,
got to give them a choice.
that's a good point.
It's interesting. It feels like today's younger players are starting to embrace mixed games, and you hear about more and more mixed games tournaments online. People are kind of excited about mixed games. Besides, obviously you mentioned promoting it, but what do you think casinos need to do to get those young players that are kind of interested in mixed games to get on property and play them, or or do the casinos not want them to play? Do they make more money playing if all the players are playing no limit, or does it affect the casino?
I think they can get more hands out in a no limit game than they can in a limit. And that's why they do what they do, because their rake is more. I mean, they can just get the hands out a lot quicker, because you'll have 3 or 4 players in a no limit game. All of a sudden, somebody done won that pot and they own the next hand.
Okay. So I had another question, and my apologies. I've had communication issues today. So if you've already addressed this, don't worry about it. Just let me know. But are there any players that stand out who were characters, or the kind of old school type of poker players that we don't really see much on the scene anymore, that you can remember that were active part of your community? And then I want to ask you if any of the players from the Grand days are still out there playing tournaments or playing cash games, and you see them in different places, or is that, or most in retirement, so to speak?
Most of them are retired or passed away.
Okay.
We got a few that's still out there, playing at the Beau Rivage. Not many.
Okay.
Not many.
And who are some of the players that like kind of stand out from way back, just being really kind of unique characters, so to speak? Because poker has a lot of them, and I'm sure you had even more back then. Because I felt like when me and Gene first came into poker, there was a whole group of people that I saw for about 3, 4, maybe 5 years. They were kind of the old school poker players, and we came in with kind of the moneymaker effect. And then within about 4 to 5 years, I stopped seeing all these colorful characters. Are there any that stand out to you?
Yeah, most of them are not here anymore. But that Bert Ladner, he was known in the Grand Casino, and he used to play poker under the table years ago. Rip Polish, Jerry Stumbo.
Jerry's still playing.
Huh?
I said Jerry's still playing, and
Jerry Stumbo's still playing. Yeah, he's my buddy.
We've definitely played with Bert. Are there any stories you can think of Bert that stands out that you feel comfortable sharing?
I can share it with you. I can share it with you, but you can't share it with the world. I told Bert one day, he's in there, he's got his little paper in his hand because he was like a bookie. I said, "You're gonna get caught. You better stop that booking up in this poker room." And like 2 or 3 days later, he's like, "I ain't doing it no more." They're about to throw him out the front door. He said, "Treva, you tell him that I don't do that no more."
That's cool. It used to be a guy that I used to play a lot with called Jimmy Stockstill. I don't know.
He passed away.
You remember Jimmy though, huh? Yeah, he was a character. In fact, that was one of the first people that I heard reference me as Gene D. We were all playing in the 5-5 game at Harris, and it had been going every day for 2 or 3 weeks. And I had gotten in, a couple of really crazy games and had some big wins, and then had a couple of big losses. But I was in the restroom over at Harris using the in the stall, and so I don't think anybody else was in the restroom. And Jimmy came in. I could hear him on the phone talking to somebody, and he was naming off a couple of other guys that were there. I think if I remember, he named off Jacob Knockhand, and then he goes, and then of course Gene D's here too. So you never know what's going to happen with that crazy guy. He gets chips, it's going to be crazy, or he may go off for $500 or $600. You don't know. And so I was like, I distinctly remember that was the first time I was, man, they called me Gene D. They had at the time they had about 2 or 3 Genes that played poker in the Harris room. But anyways, that's my story.
He was a character. He was. Yeah. You knew he passed away, huh?
Yeah. I didn't know when though. I mean, I'd heard, but was it recently?
Like 6, probably I would say 5 months ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Huh. Now I'm thinking about it. Maybe I didn't. because I thought I'd heard he had passed away over a year ago.
Mm-mm.
So, oh well, God rest his soul. He another story with him is I figured out when they built the hotel, the Harris Hotel, I figured a way that I could call into the casino to the host desk, and say, hey, it usually worked on weekdays, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night. And I would say, hey, look, I'm looking to come in and do some gambling at the casino. I was wondering if there was any rooms. Maybe y'all could, comp me a room or something like that. And so they would ask me my address, and my address came up, an hour and a half away, and I could get them to, comp me a room. And Jimmy and I got to talking at the table about a week ago, and I shared with him, that story and that tactic. And about 2 days later, I was standing in line getting something to eat, and he come up behind me and put his arm around me. He goes, "Hey, bro, that tactic you gave me about the room, I just got one. You need to keep that under wraps, Bubba. Only two people who need to know about that is me and you." And I was like, "All right, yeah, don't tell nobody. They're eventually going to cut that off." So he was a character.
Yeah.
Bert Ladner, very, very early when I was brand new to poker, was playing in tournaments, and he was kind of one of the colorful guys playing. He had that fedora, and he just seemed really calm and really cool, and kind of above everything in the poker tables. Like, you could tell he'd been there, seen it all, done it all. And I remember maybe it was the second time we'd shared a table. It was pretty early, but I felt like I was arrived or was somebody, or I knew what I was doing, because he started kind of whispering and talking to me about plays people made and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm not that bad if this guy, is soliciting my opinion. And I remember he said something. There was a player, we were getting near the money, and he all of a sudden just seemed a little too wild, and it was like the pressure was getting to him, and he bust. And then Bert just kind of turns to me and goes, "He was itching to leave. You knew he was going to bust." And it's weird though, because I use that little nugget, because a lot of times when the pressure amps up in tournaments, I look for kind of people like that, and there are people that are itching or ready to bust, that you should play hands with. So I learned something from him right at the very start.
Yeah, he was a character. He used to call me to come get his chips, and I'd go over and get his money and come back, and he'd say, "I'm missing $5." And I say, "You missing $5? It's right here. That's my tip." And he said, "I'm gonna tell on you." I said, "I don't care." And I just walk up.
Trevor,
was Bert one of the better players in the room? Do you remember?
Yes,
Yeah.
he was good.
Yeah. Were there a few guys that really excelled over everybody else, and then a lot of people just playing for fun? Or
most of them, I would say most of them in there, the older group, they were playing for a living.
Wow.
They, to pay their bills or whatever. The younger people, they were just in there trying to get a trophy.
Okay.
Type of thing. Yeah.
Trevor, how was it working for Johnny? I hear a lot of good things about him. I know you worked for him for a while, huh?
Oh, he was good to me.
Yeah.
I had to give him a 6 months notice when I got ready to retire. He told me, he says, I can't replace you. And I said, well, I tried to teach the other girls, what to do and how to be polite, get that good sense of humor with the players. If you don't have a good sense of humor, you cannot work in the poker room, okay?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, what are some of the things that
my first job at the Grand Casino, the first day I went for an interview, the man that was running the poker room, he was going over everything with me. And I said, look, I've worked in the poker room a little bit. He says, we don't put up with no sexual harassment in this poker room. I said, well, I don't want to work here. And he said, what? That was my last word to him. I said, I don't want to work here. And I got hired. And I had the best time. They loved me. I'm not trying to brag on myself, but I did my job well, good. I got employee of the month, employee of the week, employee of the year at every job I ever worked at, because I was an honest person. I did what I'm told. I do it good. And if I was younger, I'd still be working. But I'm retired and loving every minute of it.
Good stuff.
But I'm way older than any of y'all. So
I wanted to circle back to just one question, just to be clear, which was did I understand you right when you said you've barely played any poker? Is that right?
I played one time.
One time. When was that?
I went to me and my husband flew to Reno, Nevada, and we he plays poker, my husband does, and I said, look, I'm gonna play that no limit hold'em. I've never played it. I didn't really like it at the Grand, and I sat down with my $300, and me not ever playing poker in my life. I worked in poker. I didn't say a word. I would just have my little sunglasses on, sat down, and said, oh, I don't know too much about poker, man. Them men was like, come on. So they gave me my 2 little cards and stuff, and I'm looking, oh Lord, I don't know what I've got. I mean, y'all got me. About that time, one man, he pushed all his money in. We got a regular other cards. I pushed all my money in, and I walked off with $780, and I never played again.
Oh, that's incredible. Yeah, that is incredible.
I said, nice playing with y'all, but I didn't. I've never played before my whole life.
So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that point, because you're so immersed in the culture of poker, and you probably played less poker than, almost anybody. And I just love that fact. And I'm wondering, no temptation to try to double up that $700, or you're gonna just let it ride?
I'm gonna let it ride because, like I say, I love my players. I did not want to sit at a table because I knew everybody. I mean, I know everybody all the way to Las Vegas, okay? And I looked around to make sure it wasn't nobody I knew. I don't want to take my players' money. If I have a chance to take their money, I would feel so bad because they took care of me. I mean, I made good money at the Grand. I mean, I made $80,000 a year. That was good money back in the 90s.
Yeah, that was like 210 this year.
Yeah, I went to dealing school in 1992, but I couldn't be a dealer because I seen more money on another job. And I said, oh Lord, I'm gonna do this other job. I mean, I made $2,000 a week at the Grand, plus my salary. Wow. So I'm not giving that up.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I did really good.
Well, I got one last question. I see on Facebook there's a house you got posted on your Facebook page in Liberty, Mississippi. Is that the house y'all grew up in, or no?
That's my sister, my younger sister. Me and her are 11 months apart, and she's selling her house, and she's moving to Ocean Springs.
Oh, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Phil, do you have any last questions for Treva?
No, but I'm looking forward to listening to the parts that I've missed because my communication issues. So hopefully I won't be inspired after the fact with anything you guys have already talked about. So
well, this was wonderful, Treva. I really appreciate you talking with us. And is there anything else you want to mention about the upcoming reunion, or anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to touch on?
Our upcoming reunion, I included this year Well, I started last year, including the whole grand. So it could be slots, security, surveillance, table games. They're all invited this year to our grand party. So far I think we're gonna have a good crew this year.
Damn, sounds like fun.
Yeah. So
yeah, we hope so. And when this episode comes out, we'll be sure to spread the word so folks can get pointed in that direction if they want to join y'all.
oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I'm not that smart in poker, but I'm a good person. Hey, but you can't take that money off the table, okay? If I see you, I'm gonna get you.
That's it. No going south.
No going south. That's right.
No going south.
Well, you say that, but in terms of being smart in poker, you're one of the few people to started a winner, ended as a winner, and never been a loser. So you got to be smarter than almost everybody else,
exactly.
Right?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad y'all chose me. I am just, I just don't know how to thank you.
Well, no, we appreciate it. Thank you, and we'll be following along. So hopefully the reunion goes well, and maybe there'll be more to come.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. See
Take
y'all.
care, Treva.